Stand for something. Be, not feel. Little Hinckley for you. Travis Wingoodzell. 10.3K total videos on YouTube over a decade. And a good number of them include video clips from the actual mouths of living prophets of Jesus. And Mormons, for some reason, want to be living in denial. They refuse and reject the words from the living prophets of Jesus to deny my video content. I don't understand why Mormons refuse to be Mormon, to study Mormonism, to pay attention to their words. Because Oaks, over this past conference, said we need to love Lucifer. If you don't understand where I got that from, you weren't paying attention to conference, were you? And so I don't understand Mormons who claim that they're faithful, and they don't know that the pure doctrine of Lucifer is the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What is the pure doctrine concerning pornography, Mormons? Lucifer's pure doctrine concerning pornography. What is his view on it? His doctrine. Don't know? When was the last time you went to the temple? When was the last time you read your Genesis or selections from the Book of Moses? Lucifer's doctrine is to cover up and hide nudity, to feel shame and guilt. That is Lucifer's pure doctrine. So what is the pure doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints regarding Lucifer's doctrine of pornography? Ooh, we got an exact pattern match. Now, do you understand why there's the inverted pentagrams on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple headquarters? These are easy breezy cover girls, or maybe it's Maybelline, to figure out. Colin Joe stole it from me. Today's, or last night's, because I saw it today, weekend update. Hilarious! Best ever! At least the first part. Second part, they were slacking. Hilarious. 3 Nephi chapter 27, verse 28. And howbeit my church, save it be in my name. For if a church be called in Moses' name, then it be Moses' church. Or if it be called in the name of a man, then it be the church of a man. But if it be called in my name, then it is my church, if it so be that they are built upon my gospel. Mormons leave that part out, because missionaries go around and say, we're Christians, see, Jesus is in the center of our name. That's not what it says. It has to be built upon the gospel of that man. A man is a man. Moses was a man, according to literal history of Christianity, and therefore Jesus. But I don't see Jesus in here. Nope. So yes, Christianity likewise pulls what Mormons do, because Mormons got it from Christians to do it. They pick and choose what they want to believe, and what doesn't fit their gospel, they reject and ignore and hope it goes away. You can't. Mormons cannot listen to the living prophets of Jesus, read the scriptures, and ignore what they don't want to believe in. And so those of us who know better know the contradictions in scriptures with the living prophets of Jesus and the forged documents that are still in our Doctrine and Covenants. You didn't know there were forged documents? You thought it was just Mark Hoffman who did forgeries? Where do you think he got the idea from? He found out. Just as September 6th found out. So, you need to know Joseph Smith's gospel to then know the forged documents of Brigham Young. You can't say that Joseph Smith on tithing is section 119 when it contradicts both section 42, section 120, and the Book of Mormon, 2 Nephi 26. You can't try to harmonize them, to merge them together, because you're still creating your own Mormonism. Once you introduce a fallacy argument into the premises, your conclusion is automatically false before you get to that point. You must have only logically sound arguments in your premises, especially if you're going to communicate with me. If you throw a fallacy in my face, I'm not going to listen, because you just pulled a fallacy argument. Your conclusion is wrong. I don't need to run the test on a fallacy I already know is a fallacy. Don't even try it. You do not know the scientific method, which is right there in scriptures. Run the test on the word. As adults, we should have already been doing this for gabillions of words from our youth when we learned to speak. Parents set you in front of the TV as an infant, and so you get taught TV is my teaching method. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make bath time lots of fun. I dance myself to sleep. The boogie woogie sheep. And then come back and say, you're watching too much television. We need to control you, how much you view television. We need to ban the TV. It causes harm to children. Yeah, wow, cell phones were the old TV. Amazing. They're still beating the dead horse and finally winning it. Dear God. Fallacy argument. And now it finally is succeeding in causing damage to children by banning it. And it's sad, because kids are not getting taught correctly. And so, again, last night, checking on the news, KUTV2 posted a video 3 hours before I started checking on the news last night. So it was in the afternoon, in which now the prosecution has released a handwritten letter. And so KUTV2 titles their video, handwritten letter could play major role in Tyler Robinson court proceedings. No, it doesn't. Did they not listen to my video yesterday, or was it Saturday? Because if it was Saturday, they may not have gotten to it in time. But if it was on Friday, oh my hell. What's going on with you guys? Why do you have a license as press when you don't follow the rules and education that you should have been taught to be the press, to do investigative journalism, rather than just report what the police tell you to read? So yes, what that is a mixture of ex post facto and fruit of the poisonous tree. Here's what the text said in part. I am likely dead or facing a lengthy prison sentence. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I took it. He's obviously gay. He wanted to ask him on a date. Yeah, I already established that the text message was forged, as it said it was. It's not his linguistic pattern. And so again, handwritten, really? People do that these days, huh? Forgery. I mean, the guy is involved with computers. He doesn't do handwritten notes. That's old school, like the prosecution and the police investigating that have no clue how to investigate. This case has already failed. And in case you forgot, because I had to make the pretty picture so that I read it, Actus Reus, people. If you don't have Actus Reus, your case is a nothing burger, as Fox News calls the word. All that is mens rea. And the lawyer who was a prosecutor, now defense, I do not want him as a defense counsel, by the way. He did poorly in advertising for business. Even though he said the defense would have to show that it wasn't him and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, Actus Reus, you dumbass. And so, yes, mens rea is the state of mind about the alleged crime, the intent to commit the act. That's all these forgeries of planted evidence are doing. That's the whole case of the prosecution. They have nothing for Actus Reus. It's all 100% mens rea. In case you forgot the news last week, oh, the bullet doesn't match the weapon. They even showed again the video of the guy on the roof with no rifle. Didn't he have a rifle on the roof? Where's the rifle on the roof? He didn't take it down with him, so it must still be on the roof. Oh wait, it was out in the forest somewhere? They've got nothing for Actus Reus. And in the state of Utah, sure, they don't need it. Right, Corey Richens? And in case you didn't know, she was on trial for poisoning her husband. And if you didn't listen to the jury in the verdict, yeah, she committed adultery, she did it. That's mens rea. It was not based on actus reus. Oh, dear God. That's all the jury had to do. Did the prosecution convince you beyond a reasonable doubt that she, Corey Richins, murdered her husband by poisoning? All the other stuff is only for sentencing. The mens rea is for sentencing, because that's the intent. It's supposed to back up the actus reus. It's not supposed to dominate. Things are screwed up in Utah. There is no justice. So, anyway. But it's the same thing with the church and religion. They've got no actus reus. There is no Jesus. He never shows. So what do we do? Oh no. Well, again, you've got a fallacy argument in your premises. Your conclusion, therefore, is false. So false religion. So go into the Bible, go into 3 Nephi 14, which is the exact same plagiarized equivalent of Matthew chapter 7, starting in verse 15. False prophet, false leader, false preacher, false teacher, false words. That's all you need is a fallacy argument, and your whole word is destroyed. Your whole case is destroyed. So, knowing now that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is true, and that all Christianity is not true, see, yeah, you said it. And all religion is false, other than the actual word written by the Jews who wrote it. Utah also signed into law a bill requiring religious books into the classrooms. And they refused in the state of Utah to acknowledge it's only going to be the Book of Mormon. They said, yeah, we can now have the Bible taught in school. I'm surprised they didn't say Quran. We all know. They know. The local press knows it's for the Book of Mormon. Mormon legislature, Mormon governor. Hello. As 2024 scandal. Somebody complained that the Bible is too graphically violent and pornographic for kids, and so it was pulled from the school libraries. The Bible. So in retaliation, somebody then made complaints about the Book of Mormon. And that's when the legislature and the governor stood up and said, okay, this is going too far. It's all fun and games with the Bible, but don't you dare touch the Book of Mormon. And so now they've made it a law to teach the Book of Mormon to kids in school. This is a direct response for that, in case you forgot. You know, if they could teach it literally as literature, yeah, fully appropriate for a higher education, not for the younger grades. But Mormons are incapable of teaching the literacy literature of the Book of Mormon. They cannot do it. Okay. No, I don't want the video. Alrighty. So, we got him. September 12th. He turned himself in, and they said, we got him. Death penalty. Governor Cox. The handwritten letter and the text was not until after a warrant on the 17th, 5 days later, after they obtain all of his information, DNA, fingerprints, ex post facto, to rig a case with mens res. So, this morning waking up, not wanting to wake up, so I've conditioned my body to wake up from 3 to 4:30. And for the most part, it does that, even though I may end up falling back asleep. Staying up late doing the Dallin Harris Oaks presidency video to save it and then upload it this morning. And this morning I was thinking, oh, I should have added the text from the temple of Lucifer for the pornography one. That's why I brought it up in this video, because I was thinking about that this morning, and I was going, oh, it's too late. I didn't do the. So I can still do the Pure Doctrine of Lucifer of Dallin Harris Oaks. That video is still available for me to do. And there's a whole bunch of stuff I could have put in. I just barely scratched his conference talks from the beginning. I'm only into 1985, I think, which is only the next year when he took over. His first talk was in October, so I think it's the October of 2020 or 1985. And then there's his whole BYU talks. Got those also that I have not gotten to. So yeah, there's a whole messer splits of stuff to do for Oaks from his very words. I don't have to lie. I don't have to make stuff up. I don't have to put in a fallacy argument to destroy my whole case. And then the church says, see, he lied about us. We've got religious freedom. We're being persecuted by our anti-Mormon enemies, adversaries, whom we have to love. What? But I don't love Travis. Yeah, why is that, Mormon women? Single Mormon women? Where are you? My YouTube stats say you want nothing to do with me. Why are you dominantly not watching me when you are the ones in the greater danger than the men are? Why is that, Mormon women? Sarah, can you help explain this for me? Maybe you can explain it in our exclusive interview you're going to have with me. Notice you took Friday night off. She's got to be somebody's baby. She must be somebody's baby. Mosiah 25. Oh, we got to talk about my dream first. Oops. No script. No notes. There was nothing in the news. After Trump tacoed out again so that this church can make more billions of dollars on the stock market through insider war profiteering trading, the news has just gone blah. And so they all just diverted to the diversionary tactic of Artemis 2. Great, nothing in the news. Except for Melania, that one day on Thursday, wasn't it? So, in this morning's dream, it is not literal history, it's a vision. Likeness of things on the earth. I did not recognize any of the characters in real life, but still, they were human. And there were buildings, and there was a mass rush of an exodus. There was a danger coming that was going to destroy everything. And so there was a group of people who were fleeing, and I was part of that group that was fleeing. And so I go back to a place where my boxes were kept, to somehow, without a dolly, pack them and take them with me in what vehicle? It's a dream. That's not the point of the dream, to be realistic. It's prophecy and revelation on occasion, or just going over my previous day's experiences. And yes, there was one such thing. When we get to it. And so I go into a room where a little girl was sleeping. I woke her up with the lights on. And I go into my closet to obtain all of my boxes stacked up in the closet. And the girl is there now, kneeling on the bed, seeing what I'm doing, upset that she got woken up. And I'm asking her, "Are you not leaving to go?" And she says, "No, I don't want to go." Just like my big 86 summer dream. "Travis, she's not going with you across the road." What do you mean she's not going with me across the road? She's not going with you. She's going to go around the building and get caught by the guards. But I don't want her to get caught by the guards. Well, tough. She's going to get caught by the guards. She's not going with you. See, in dreams, like Nephi's dream, there is a dungeon master, narrator of your dream. A dream narrator. On a number of occasions. And so I, in this dream, was able to see as if I were in the dream doing things visually, so that I saw that it was me doing the thing. So it wasn't Quantum Leap. I need to get to the original. I've now seen 2 seasons of the reboot, and I'm actually enjoying them. But they're referencing the previous guy who's trapped in the system still. So I keep forgetting to get to that. Maybe that's what I can now transition to. I started with 24 not too long ago, if you paid attention to me talking about it, because of the terroristic threat, but Trump failed. And so sure enough, my interest in 2020 or 24 failed. But then the Jack Bauer of America came out and said Tyler Robinson has no actus reus. We all know he didn't do it. That they're forging a case of mens rea instead. And so, yeah, the local news is not wanting to acknowledge that fact, that the prosecution is guilty as a co-conspirator. Governor Cox is guilty as a co-conspirator. And thank God that that is what you see when you hover over that video. Governor Cox is a co-conspirator. Tyler Robinson didn't do it. And the local news, KUTV2, despite their attempts to try to get the documents that they know were destroyed, They're still pushing the mens rea thing. They reported that the actus reus was destroyed, and they still don't get it. Why are you guys licensed? Licensed to do what? Tabloid journalism? To repeat what the church tells you to read? So, I then leave without those boxes. And if you forgot the other dream of the Hinckley transfer of authority to me, yeah, it's the same situation. There's room number 88, just packed with papers all over the place. And I wanted to go in and see all the papers. So yeah, that's not what it was for. It's not supposed to be a realistic movie for me. Dreams are different. And so then I met up with a missionary without his companion. And as I woke up this morning and going running, because I had enough time to do it because I didn't sleep in that much later. That's weird. It's like the sun is rising in the west. Because it's reflecting off of the windows. When I went on my mission, leaving from LAX to Salt Lake City, I was all by myself. And so even though missionaries are supposed to be 2x2 or 3x3, or sometimes 4x4, depending on whether the person's waiting for their visa to go through, that's in the mission field. And so going to Salt Lake City, where Phil and Kathy Shinnicky picked me up and took me to their home that was in Pleasant Grove. I was all by myself, and so coming home, it was the same way. Even though there would have been other missionaries, because Baxter, he came out with me, so he would have gone home with me as we finished together there in the Bronx. He would have been on that plane somewhere. They didn't have us sit together. I was all sitting by myself. And so, yeah, going home from New York, is it LaGuardia in New York? To Salt Lake City, direct flight, not a diverted flight that oftentimes is the case. You might end up going to Chicago or Arizona and then to wherever, to Salt Lake or wherever you are. But for me, it was supposed to be Salt Lake and then go straight to LAX, for which I would then immediately be going back up to Rexburg. And so I was alone on all those flights, and I almost didn't make my flight to LAX because of the poor timing of the. I told the story not too long ago. Again, yeah, I got to Salt Lake, and I'm looking around, and I'm going, what the hell? Where do I go? Trying to figure it out from my ticket. Gate such and such. Where's that? Which direction do I go? Had no clue. And so then my sister suddenly appears. Oh yeah, you're at BYU, aren't you? I held up the plane. Hurry! It was leaving. You mean I would have missed it? Yeah. My arrival missed the leaving of the plane to LAX. That's the brilliance of, is it Murdoch Travel? Are you to blame? And so I would have been stuck in Salt Lake City, homeless on the streets as a returned missionary, wearing my suit and name tag, and everybody condemning me for not having a partner with me. You deserve what you got, elder. I just wanted to go back to Rick's, where all those women pretended to like me. I would soon find out that they wouldn't, because I'm a returned missionary now, so now they avoid me like the plague. When I was young and pre-missionary, yeah, everybody wanted to date me. Why did they change? I was still the same. I didn't change. So I'm talking with him, and he says he's trying to catch up to his companion who had gone up ahead and had gone into a store, and they were also preparing to leave in this exodus that was occurring. And so we saw across the street a gang of youngins, and they had either military weapons or Hollywood entertainment futuristic weapons. Now you need to understand, I had just the other day, probably over the week, is the weekend. So last week, I watched Dredd, the reboot of Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone. And so yes, those kinds of weapons could have been what is why the gang members had those kinds of weapons. Very likely. So, yes, things in our life often can become imprinted into our dreams. And so, yes, if I'm involved with somebody on a regular basis, visually, in their presence, communicating with them, they can become a unique character in my dreams, a dream character, because of their uniqueness as an individual. So when the dream calls for that kind of character uniqueness, that person will show up. That's why mother will show up in one dream and not in another, whereas dad may show up in another, or both parents may show up in a dream, or my siblings may show up in a dream, or those who I associate with or work with and go to church with, or whatever, can appear in a dream because of their unique character and the symbolism involved in the dream. But the point of an exodus is also top priority for me for the past decade, in case you hadn't caught on. These are the latter days, and it means things. You can't just ignore them and hope that they go away, or you're waiting for the living prophet of Jesus to compel you in all things as to what to believe, and he just told you to love Lucifer. How are you doing on that? How does that make you feel? So yes, if you had run those tests, you would know that the fallacy arguments galore that they use is more than enough. You just needed one. And yet they've got every single word a fallacy. And Mormons still refuse to believe it. And I can understand the Pymos that I learned the title of yesterday. I know them. I didn't know that they were called Pymos. I like pie. I like eating pie. I just finished the third of the Marie Callender's pies. Where was your mind? Oh, it was on the South Park episode of the song Wonderful Pie. Jews! Not warrant. Which, yeah, the warrant for Tyler for the forgeries. I think we might have a winner. Let's write it down, because I will forget. Maybe I'll just listen to that. Although, so far this morning I've been listening to David Naughton Making It from Meatballs. Camp Meatballs. Exclusive song just for that. One hit wonder. Although I guess he did come out. Did he come out with other songs? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Regardless. So when Exodus comes to Mormons' minds, if they're not thinking above and beyond Matthew 24, they're messing out. I know you know that there's more to Matthew 24 regarding the latter days and signs to look for, as well as things that are supposed to happen. I know you know. Even if you're a Pymo, even if you're an Exfo, even if you're a Nevermo who's a Christian believing in the book of Revelation, you know there's more than Matthew 24. And yet the church says, nope, just Matthew 24. Gospel preached to all the world. We did it. Mission accomplished. Church is true. You can't pick and choose. You have to be able to explain everything. And the church has an explanation for everything, but it's got to be logically sound, not a fallacy. So, the buildings. The big one, because these others are just, dear God. The New Jerusalem. Where's the New Jerusalem supposed to be, Mormons? Why are you a Mormon? Why? Are you a Pymo? Even a Pymo knows that's why they don't believe. Mormons who believe, why? Why? You're not making sense. I know they still make you memorize the articles of faith in primary. You know Article of Faith number 10. The literal gathering to the New Jerusalem in America. Not stay where you are, scattered around the world. How did you fall for that one, guys? I have studied the gathering, the lives, the wives, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and I know no better now than I knew then. To let God prevail. Right, Sarah Murphy? Even Sarah knows Nelson's BS. Right? You do know your baby name meaning, right? Especially after I did all those pictures for you. Right? You're wearing the pink dresses for me, right? We're going camping, an exclusive interview, right? No? Who were you with? How dare you not go with me? But he's having fun with me. Nonetheless, New Jerusalem. Yeah, just like with Garna. You know, when she was being pimped out by the church, I called it out. We need to save Garna. Free Garna. Is Garna attractive? Of course she is. She's female. They're all attractive. What the hell? It's not fair. Why am I cursed as a lesbian in a man's body? No, I'm not chopping it off. Bleep you. And so, yes, the church is extremely abusive, and Mormons stay Mormon. But Garna eventually got married. So I no longer say free Garna, even though if her marriage is built on a sham of the church, then yeah, she still needs to be rescued. But it'll be a matter of time before she comes to understand that the guy she married is not worth it. And that she would have been better off with me. Men act very weird. Men act very weird. So yes, with all women in the church, and they run away and hide. Run away and hide. They're not even watching me in secret. It's guys that are all watching me in secret, I learned yesterday. What's up with that? So, the Exodus is to New Jerusalem. And the guys who do the YouTube channel from which Google AI took the reference from rather than my video content on it, AI Google still sucks, even though they're at least referencing an actual reference, whether it's a primary source or not, rather than making stuff up. But getting the extra pictures for this morning's version of the original 30 minutes of the video, the longer video yesterday, which expanded to over 50 minutes, I had caught the University of Utah and other psychologists here in Utah praising the virtues of conversion therapy. Today it was gone. They caught on to what I was doing. And they replaced it with what I already knew, the law in Utah banning it. And they also put in the church's claim that the church does not endorse conversion therapy whatsoever. Yeah, Oaks denied it at BYU too. Nope, we aren't doing the Nazi practice here in Utah. Nope. Nope. But I tell you these things and you're not believing. Dear God. I know what I'm talking about. Just because I don't have a script doesn't mean you can take advantage of that. Because I will find the primary source that I'm referring to and put you in your place. So yeah, the videos, the greatest hits, and the one today, which was the expanded version of yesterday's, those are the primary source documents from which I do all my videos. I know this church isn't true, and I am not a PIMO. You know, when I didn't have the direct connection to the church, yeah, I didn't know yet. But I still knew that the manuals needed to be fixed, and that the scriptures needed to be corrected on the footnoting, and that the scriptures need to be translated correctly. And so, yes, I was demonstrating my knowledge about the errors in this church, but I hadn't connected it to the leaders yet. And so when the bishop got the call from the Strengthening Church Members Committee, tell Travis to take down his Adam fell that man might be video. He's going against the living prophets of Jesus. And you do know that's from 2 Nephi chapter 2 in the Book of Mormon. Keystone. Exactly. So yes. No, you're not going to extort and threaten me to deny the truth of the Book of Mormon. I already know it's true. I ran the test. It's just not Mormon true. In case you hadn't caught on, the living prophets of Jesus, not preaching the Book of Mormon. And so then it would be, the next year or later that year in 2018, when I found the receipt connected to the church for what they had done to me in 2008. So that's it. I'm never going back now. Even though I was never going back anyway, because I was also in November of 2017, I began doing original church history research. Because of the actus reus I was discovering for the assassination of Joseph Smith in Carthage jail. And so now that I knew the actus reus, now I need to find out the mens rea, and went back to the beginning. And yes, that's why I do church history videos. It was because of that. So I try to teach you guys how to identify the fallacy in the church history, so that you can know. And so yes, the big thing is who converted the Mormon. When and who converted them. That will establish what already is factually known, and will show how they were associated or not associated with the Danites of Brigham Young. And so we're waiting for the fall of the church. We're waiting for the transfer of authority to me. Pymos are waiting for the fall of the church so that they can be free. So they don't have to worry about the facade that they perpetuate going to church, even for a cute little baby blessing. You're still a Pymo. or for the Christmas presentation by the primary, or the Easter presentation by the primary, which we just had. Yeah, this is when the grandparents come to visit and watch their grandkids perform, and as well as all join for conference if it's that same weekend, or the coming weekend, as it was in this particular case. And so, did you ever think about how it would be done? Are you just assuming that the church is still true now, despite the fallacies that I've exposed? The church has to fall. So who's going to lead you? You know, like the man like Moses? This is the Sunday school lesson right now. for today. Did you not know that? You're sitting in church today. Oh, Exodus. Okay. You didn't know this, huh? Why are you a Mormon? I mean, yeah, granted, only 5 minutes. And so Sister Freeman came out on Friday fixing Jasmine, fixing the new schedule so that the manuals are no longer used for the young women. The manuals are now rendered worthless because there's too much material in the manuals to cover in class. And so Sister Freeman now is going to do a doctrinal topic or a scripture with the doctrinal topic. That's her brilliant idea to fix the botched job of Oaks in the revision of Sunday school and priesthood for the time schedule. And so yes, why did Sister Freeman come up with this idea? It's because of seminary. That both of us were the first class with the brand new teaching method, with the brand new quad with footnotes and Bible dictionary and topical guide. That seminary, and then likewise Institute, had to create new manuals to conform and comply to them, to sync them together. And so Sister Freeman and I were the first class. And so that's why she likes to brag about how she annotates her scriptures, but only what the class told her to annotate. Those were the scripture masteries that she has annotated. Mine are different. I applied what the seminary was teaching into a full scripture study. That's not what the church wanted me to do. But they didn't tell me this. They led me to believe that that's what I'm supposed to do with all the scriptures. And so I was obedient. Sister Freeman only did the status quo. But that's where she got it from, is the scripture masteries. The doctrinal overview and the scripture. She's getting it from the scripture mastery cards. So for the 5 minutes of class, that's what she's going to do now. Read a scripture, bear her testimony on how true it is. And there you go, girls. Don't you feel great about the church now? Stay away from Travis's channel. Okay. He's ugly. Yeah. We're hot. We can get any guy we want. And we're going to wait until it's too late for the perfect guy. Oh my hell. That is not good record numbers to have to boast about for seminary registration. Institute registration. Especially when Oaks is condemning everybody for not getting married. Right, Todd? What you don't know, because you're not following me, is Joseph Smith gives you the whole features of the New Jerusalem. That it's going to be a mountain pyramid structure. That at the top of it will have a bell and an observatory. It's really cool. Because I know how it's supposed to be designed. In case you forgot about the Hinckley dream. Transfer of authority. Room number 88. I know exactly how it's supposed to be built, and it is incredible. It is not any architecture that has ever existed on the face of the earth. But it can't happen until the fall, transfer of authority, and an Exodus. And so did you not think about this? The majority of Mormons know the church isn't true, whether they're an ex or a foe or a PIMO. The Mormons, they're clueless. They're waiting to be compelled in all things from Oaks. And Oaks just said to worship Lucifer, and they're still not doing it. Even though in practice, sure, they've always been worshiping Lucifer, calling him Jesus. That's Constantine's Lucifer, guys. Don't steal somebody else's Lucifer. I did my paper on that. The divine command theory is the taking away of agency of the members, and thus Lucifer's doctrine from just the Bible alone. But having a Mormon background, I was able to cheat. Because I knew which scriptures to look for in the Bible. And so yes, Christianity, with its divine command theory and its omniscience, omnipotent, omnipresent, and all benevolent God, is a fallacy argument. So yes, Lucifer's plan of happiness. Idol Jesus is Lucifer. And Lucifer delighteth in idols. Porn. It was real easy to do. I got an A. So, hypothetically, we're going to assume the scriptures will be true. Not like they haven't been true since. That the church is going to fall. What do? If by chance you're listening, what are you going to do when the church falls? Are you going to claim you're now the leader? Try to gather people around you to follow you? They'll never go hungry again? Are you just going to do your own thing? Continue to live your life? We don't know how the church will fall and what the United States will play a part in that. But leaving all of that aside for game theory strategy, are you going to isolate yourself in your underground bunker or up in the mountains at some kind of a cabin or roughing it? Are you going to follow somebody else who claims they want you to follow them? And just a regular member of the church? Maybe a female? Maybe a bishop? Elders Quorum president? Stake president? Area 70? Even if he was one who refused to report a child rapist, or maybe one of the apostles didn't get away with the others to a non-extradition country island where their offshore bank accounts are. Or a member of the 70. presiding bishopric? Who would you follow? Would you say, oh, Chad Daybell, he's true, we need to free him. He was right, he knew all along. Really? Why not Brian David Mitchell? Why Chad Daybell and not Brian David Mitchell? Again, are you not going to run the test? Are you so defiant and resistant from running that simple, basic, scientific method test in both the Bible and the Book of Mormon? By their fruits. Do not put a fallacy argument in the seed. It will not produce the results. I understand. As a guy who's been studying women and women's fashion for his whole life, yeah, church is awesome because you got women in their spring dresses now, Easter dresses. And the little girls are just so cute. Oh, adorable. Nonetheless, are you a Pimo for that reason? No, just me. If I didn't know the other things that I found out. And so that's the first question you need to ask yourself, is when the church falls and your leader is gone from the equation because you shot the hostage. Speed, Keanu Reeves. Got to keep up on your pop culture, especially with me. Who are you going to follow? Or are you going to create your own personal Jesus and follow yourself with a multi-personality disorder like Oakes? Exactly. That's the big question. Who do you follow? If you'd read your scriptures, you know you're supposed to be looking for a man like Moses, who's a Mormon. So how are you going to know when he's here? Let me repeat the words if it didn't sink in. A man, Mormon, like Moses. You need to know your Exodus story. You need to know who to look for. Joseph Smith is telling you in the second vision, verse 40, you need to really listen to him, or you're going to be precisely as it stands in our New Testament, but then he goes and he quotes from the Book of Mormon, cut off. Huh, weird. And so the transfer of authority, if would be for Mormons to know. But you don't know them. You haven't been looking for them. The church just fell. The last of the Mormons' faith bubbles burst. And Mormons have not been studying, running the test to know. Pimos don't run the test to know. Expos don't run the test to know. So now the church falls and you learn that it's been transferred to me. You don't know me. You came to one video and you didn't like what you heard. And you put a thumbs down and a hate comment and a death threat and a false testimonial. False witness. To put me in my place on how true the church is. Worshipping Lucifer. The adversary. And so, yeah, I then put out the Section 133 call, and you are asked, those who choose to come in an exodus. Now, are you choosing to come because your life is now destroyed, that the church's life is destroyed because the United States fell? Because that's also supposed to happen. But that's the danger that we face. There are three main scenarios in the Book of Mormon that we are warned about. The first one is Nephi, getting with those who believe and go with him to Zion, the land of Nephi, where they build Solomon's temple. And he begins working on all of the history of the people in Zion. Not now, we're not done yet. I can't do the Zion work until completion. And with these delays of test runs, I'm doing these videos instead. And they're so long, I don't have time to work on fashion. And so that's scenario number one. Mormons who choose to go with a man like Moses, new name Nephi even, go to Zion, live happily ever after, until the next chapter, when the Lamanites hunt them down. Then there is scenario number two from Ether. All alone in his cave, writing about the utter destruction on his videos of his people, mankind even, to the very last shiz and coriantumr. Mankind exterminated from the face of the earth, left a desert wasteland. This is what I fear is happening. And then, scenario number three, the end of the Book of Mormon. Yep, it's all about the joy of the gospel. Yep, it's not a tragedy. That can also be tragedy. The Steps version. Those Russians. I think they're Russians. I don't think they're Ukrainians. Because they perform in Russia, but I think they're from Russia. But they speak good English. But nonetheless, Mormons are utterly destroyed. The Nephites. Lamanites conquer them and destroy them. And everything goes back to the Stone Age, just like Iran was supposed to. Trump finally caught on that, oh wow, oh they backed out on our ceasefire. J.D. Vance, he quit. He's coming home. Failure. What a shocking surprise. Never saw that coming. Dumbass press. Why do you guys have licenses? I don't understand. So, in between, there's a whole bunch of other exoduses that are involved. And the one that I was inspired to do for this morning, because of the dream, is the Mulek Exodus. And so we first learn about them in Mosiah 25. And now King Mosiah caused that all the people should be gathered together. Now there were not so many of the children of Nephi, or so many of those who were descendants of Nephi, as there were of the people of Zarahemla, who were a descendant of Mulek, and those who came with him into the wilderness. So in Alma 51, we have the city of Mulek listed. Alma 52, city of Mulek listed. And so they don't go by Mulek at first. We're told this later, because the rest of it is all the city of Mulek, right? So, yeah. Called Mulek. After the son of Zedekiah. Helaman chapter 6. Interesting, 6, huh? And now the land was called Lehi. Land south was called Lehi. Land north was called Mulek, which was after the son of Zedekiah, for the Lord did bring Mulek into the land north. And thus founded Zarahemla. So yes, when they're doing the wars, as they're about to get to the secret combination with the names, signs, and tokens of the holy Melchizedek priesthood, shh, don't tell or we'll kill you too. So right before. And then, so which, let's see if Helaman 6, 10c, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Alma 22. Okay, no, that was bad. So let's go to the first one. Descendant of Mulek, 25, 2b. Or not Omni, there it is. Verse 15. Behold, it came to pass that Mosiah discovered that the people of Zarahemla came out from Jerusalem at the time that Zedekiah, king of Judah, was carried away captive into Babylon. Lehi left Jerusalem in the first year of the reign of Zedekiah. And so if we're going to call this literal history, this is 11 years later. So Nephi, having not been born until the 23rd of September 600 or 597 BCE, could not have been more than 10 years old. 11 years later, in 586 BCE, when Babylon came back and destroyed Jerusalem, the temple, the palace, and took hostages back to Babylon. So Nephi was just a youngin' when he got those plates of brass. With Zoram, pretending to be Laban, able to lift the sword of Laban. Yep, it's all true. Not spirit for seer, prophet, revelator, and translator whatsoever, despite it talked about all throughout the Book of Mormon. Nope, literal history. It's all literal history true. Nonetheless. And they journeyed in the wilderness and were brought by the hand of the Lord across the great waters into the land where Mosiah discovered them in Zarahemla. So pay attention to what happened to them. waiting for an exodus when it was compelled upon them, not leaving with the man like Moses, who is the seer, the prophet, the revelator, and the translator, whom you wanted to murder because you didn't like him calling you out as wicked for worshiping Lucifer. Okay? It's the exact same pattern match for the second vision. There's Emmanuel correctly translated in there too. Just like in Joseph Smith's visions, correctly translating Emmanuel for you. And you miss it. And I lost Kimberly over the corrected translation from the Greek that is wrongly translated as charity. I liked Kimberly. And so, yeah, I'm sure she got remarried to some guy who didn't break her leg. Kimberly. Oh my God. Why, Kimberly? Dating other guys. You get hurt. And so I just was inspired to call, and then you're saying, I'm really glad you called. Okay. I'm really glad you called. Okay. I'm waiting still. I did my part to proactively call you, and all you can say is, I'm really glad you called repeatedly. What are you saying? Use your words. You're not saying it. I have to have you say it. I can't just assume and keep harassing you and make further moves as the first moves. You should say, maybe we should do something sometime. How about next week on Wednesday or Thursday when I'm not doing that thing that I know I'm doing? What is it that you were doing? What was that? What was that? I know you really like the house up there in the hills of Bountiful, but still. Did that actually pay the bills? Okay. Nonetheless. So these guys didn't go with Lehi. They stayed behind. They were the ones who wanted to murder Lehi. And so when Babylon came and utterly destroyed Salt Lake City, Jerusalem, they were forced to flee. But at least they still had somebody to flee with, Mulek, the son of Zedekiah. It's just hilarious how Mormon apologists create fallacy arguments to prove how true the literal history of the Book of Mormon is. Well, Mulek means king from Hebrew. Yeah. What is Mosiah then in Hebrew? Oh, Mormons. See, even in this story in Omni, it's Mosiah who leads the Nephites in an exodus to the new land. And they find the others who left in an exodus being compelled. They both were, actually. That's interesting. Yeah, because Mosiah had to take the people of Nephi and flee because of the Lamanites coming in on them. Whereas those of Mulek were greater in number and came to follow Mulek the king, and yet there's Moses Yah Moses. Interesting. So no, not scripted, just inspired to go over this, and I had to find the reference live on recording. You're all a witness. Okay? So Mosiah had the scriptures, was teaching it to the people, and they preserved the correct church history and the correct translation of the scriptures, let alone having the scriptures. And they had the man like Moses, who's a seer, prophet, revelator, and translator. And they meet the people who were forced and compelled to leave Jerusalem, who didn't leave when Lehi left, because they didn't believe Lehi. And so Mulek, king, the son of the king, who was the false Christ, just like Limhi of King Noah, and Ammon, talking about Mosiah, who's a seer, prophet, revelator, and translator. You still don't see the patterns in the Book of Mormon, huh? It's just too complicated. We don't want to speculate. We're waiting for Oaks to give us all the answers. You're not even worshiping Lucifer like you're supposed to. Oh, right, you are. Okay, so the difference. Despite being survivors, united as survivors, La Brea. Because it starts off interesting, and then you find out that the woman is a cheater, an adulteress. Why are all the hot women unfaithful? It's just a Hollywood movie, Travis. It's not real. Well, the Book of Mormon is literal history. Why can't Hollywood be literal history? Like Galaxy Quest. Should I tangent at this point to explain myself? I've had 2 failed marriages, both of whom, yeah. And so, as a child growing up, obviously I have crushes on Hollywood celebrities that are my age. Not the old women in their 20s or 30s. I'm a teen. And so yes, I'm in puberty. And nobody's teaching sex ed, so I have to learn it all myself and trial by fire. Burns! It burns! What is this? If that's the case, you've got some serious problems. And so yes, I get crushes on women easily. Lots of different women. You know, why do I have to pick between just Ginger or Marianne? Why can't I pick another redhead other than Ginger? Why are blondes not involved in this equation for me to choose from? Oh, that's another question. Do I like blondes or brunettes? Can't I like both? Shouldn't the woman's mind and heart be a factor in the equation? Why do I have to only judge a woman by the outward appearance? Exactly. Psychology was running amok in the 80s. And so with these crushes, I'm not the scriptwriter. I have to watch what the scriptwriter wrote. And the scriptwriter has these haughty females who are the protagonists in the movies. And of course, they like guys, and I don't want them to like guys. I want them to like me. But they're just a fantasy of scriptwriting, of acting. And so yes, I see them kissing and getting involved with the bad boys. And then as I would get into the R ratings, now they're having sex with other guys. Or cheating on their husbands. Even though the scriptwriter tries to make it justified. And so yes, obviously the scriptwriter is going to write it so that it, see how true this is? It was necessary for her to cheat on her husband because these were the results. It was necessary for her to have sex with this guy who then wanted to kill her. I don't think I can count the number of those movies that I've seen. And then you've got the women who are smoking hot, who are the antagonists of the show. What are you doing? No, only ugly women if there are such a thing. You might have to do CGI women to make them ugly. Avatars that are ugly. Still. And so yes, for me, yes, I know all about my childhood white supremacist Christian nationalist peers and the abuse that they wanted to do and inflict on women. I know them. I know their mind because they spewed it out of their mouths. To mine not wanting to hear it. I had no choice at school. And so then there's me. And so yes, I know about the knight in shining armor syndrome. About how we want to protect women's virtue and her carnal treasure. Win a date with Tad Hamilton. Chick flick for teens and college age kids. Nonetheless, chick flick. And so yeah, the woman's not interested in us. And so yes, I always wanted the woman that was considered homely by the Christian nationalist, white supremacist peers, because they had no interest in them. They didn't know that they're female too. Those were the women I wanted. Because when you're in love with a beautiful woman, you can't trust anybody. Yeah, that's a song, in case you didn't know. because that proves to be the case. And women, naively growing up, think that, oh, once I get married, guys will leave me alone, not pursue wanting to breed. And no, doesn't work that way, women. And so yeah, I can't get involved with a plastique because she's mutilated her body. That leads to her mental condition and her heart, that she hates her physical body so much that she mutilated herself, or she was so bullied and abused to think that she was ugly to mutilate her body to appear beautiful. Is that one of the letters of LGBTQIAPO+, is the plastiques? They're not really human anymore. They're not even bionic women. That was necessary surgery, by the way. I still like Lindsay Wagner. I have not seen the reboot. I've got the reboot. I have not watched it. Oh my God, there's another one I need to watch. Oh my God. And of course, don't even get me started on Linda Carter with Wonder Woman. So they're just those shows as a teenage boy that you can get away with your mom knowing you were watching it. She may do the tongue-in-cheek thing, but she'll let you watch it. Because it is a one-piece swimsuit. Doesn't show the belly button. Even though it's fully inappropriate for garments. Even the new ones now that are string bikinis. I understand that they're backlogged. All the PIMOs want them. So, yeah, I could never marry a porn star either, even though my childhood peers were like, yeah, awesome! Couldn't do it. Because again, as a porn star, she does other guys. I can't be involved with a woman who doesn't want to do it with me, exclusively. I'm not sharing. I don't go around to other women. So why would I then expect the wife to do that? Isn't that what the whole marriage covenant is about? Is to be exclusive with each other? I don't know, maybe I should have read the small print. Nonetheless, I don't get other men on how they're allowing their sexual deviance to dominate. Because you got the religious leaders who are getting off on watching their wives do the pool boy and the raping of little girls and the rapes and, Swalwell. I mean, dear God, how many years have gone by since the woman claims she was raped? And already Democrats are demanding he quit? What is it with Democrats? Innocent until proven guilty. Oh, well, we gotta believe the woman. I've got some issues. How long has it been? And so where's the evidence? Did she go to the doctor to get a rape kit? Did she file a police report so that there's a report number? See, I'm not buying this. The former Mormon BYU football player in Los Angeles, yeah, he put her in her place, claiming that back on New Year's, are you kidding me? You didn't go to the police. You didn't file an incident report for the wounds you supposedly had. You're just making up actus reus without actus reus to accuse him of mens reus, to hope that he'll then cave and settle. And so, yes, I see this with Swalwell. He's running for office. And all of a sudden, now a former person comes forward and says, yeah, he raped me. I'm not buying it. The Me Too movement was for women who filed a police report, who went to the medical doctor to get a rape kit, and were rejected by the cops. And instead it was ruined because other people started making false accusations. And even men. Me too! I was raped. Yeah, in my case. But as a guy, you get the cops saying, why couldn't you beat your wife into submission? Excuse me? So when my wife cheats on me, I'm supposed to beat the hell out of her to get her back in line? What the hell kind of church is this? So likewise, I can't be involved with women who don't indicate an interest in me exclusively. Now, yes, I have to admit that other women had dates and other relationships and marriages likely that failed. I don't know what happened. There's no way to know. But when starting a relationship, if it's going bad, with fallacy arguments and getting very judgy, I need to bail. Because I've already had way too much abuse in the whole relationship thing. Not just the failed marriages. And so as much as I am just a guy, God, the church does so much damage. And I'm gonna be broken if we get to Zion and I watch the various women coming to Zion. It'll break me. It'll break me. Anyway. Look. Had to make this 2 hours somehow. They were exceedingly numerous. So they bred. But, see, this all ties in together. I know what I'm talking about. Nevertheless, they had had many wars and serious contentions, despite the breeding. And had fallen by the sword from time to time. If you're going to spell it with a W, I'm going to pronounce it with a W. Stupid Brits. What do they know about English? And their language had become corrupted. See? I know what I'm talking about. They both spoke the same languages, in Jerusalem. And yet, now they don't understand each other. Completely different language. Yo quiero Taco Bell. They brought no records with them. So they didn't have the scriptures. They didn't have the Joseph Smith papers. I mean, the historical documents of Galaxy Quest. I mean, and so they weren't getting properly educated. And they traditionally changed the language to something that nobody else could understand. And because they have no scriptures, they denied the being of their Creator. And pay attention to the words here in the Book of Mormon in Omni. They denied the being of their Creator and Mosiah. Nor the people of Mosiah could understand them. We're already witnessing it here, Mormons. You have Mormons who can't translate correctly, who won't interpret correctly, and who intentionally misdefine words. And so you create your own Creator, your own Christ. And what's interesting in Hebrew, to create, bara, Genesis, in the beginning, God created, Creator. Guess what the word is? Seer. Bara, which, if you don't know Paleo-Hebrew, because you haven't been following me and gone to my academia page to learn, because I deciphered it, Paleo-Hebrew is 2-letter root words, not 3 that scholars claim is Babylonian Semitic. When the Jews got taken captive into Babylon, they got assimilated into Babylon, the language too. And so they claim that Hebrew, therefore, is 3-letter root words. No. The B at the beginning is a prefix determinative, adjective. It was a hairy bear. It was a scary bear. Adjectives. To describe seer, Ra, with the A rather than the universal symbol of the sun, for the God Emmanuel, shortened in Paleo-Hebrew. God of the sun god at noonday. So very fascinating, because you've got Creator, which is Bara for seer, as Mosiah is the seer and the man like Moses, because that's his name. And Yah, which is the God, the head God in Genesis chapter 1, if you translated it correctly like Joseph Smith told you it needed to be. Instead, you're all arguing over whether Joseph Smith is true because he can't figure out that Elohim is a plural majesty for singular. No! Cut it out! So yes, I'm rewarding those of you who endure through this video. So, just fascinating. So I had no idea about this. This was just happened. But I did, going for my run, going over Barah, yeah, I was going over Barah on my run. And here I am, choosing the video. There's no script this time, there's no notes. See, these are the notes. This was for the morning thing. That's it. None of this was last night for Dylan. There's no notes. It's all just off the top of my head from inspiration. And it all ties in together. That's the ability of a seer. So yes, I go on tangents, but they all relate back to each other. All circumscribed into one great whole, correctly translated, not their version of it. Yeah, they altered that definition in the very temple text. Nonetheless. And so yes, Mormons speak of Jesus. Christians don't understand what they're saying. Because Mormons claim to be Christian, but they're not. And Mormons don't understand. They have corrupted the language of English so that nobody understands what the hell are you talking about. Love your adversary. The pure doctrine of Jesus is cover up and hide women? Crime with tithing? What the bleeping hell? I don't understand you. How is this righteous and true? Crime? Lucifer? Abuse of women? I don't get it. It's not making sense. And so, yeah, ex-foes have a different language of Mormonism from their views of it. And not pyros, likewise have their own interpretation of Mormonism. And none of you are making any sense. Because you're not holding to the iron rod, the Word of God, the Book of Mormon. The words. You need to produce the physical evidence. Not your own interpretations, not your own translations. And definitely stop changing definitions of words. Dear God. And so, what do? You need to teach them correctly. And so yeah, it kind of sucks when you've got adults, because you're supposed to do it when they're born. Teach them correctly. You're not supposed to lie to them. You're not supposed to not teach them. See how well not teaching sex ed is done for Mormons? That's all they get taught. So then he shows the genealogy. This is the book of the law. According to his memory, they were written, but not in these plates. And so they became one people. And so Zarahemla, who was the king, gave up the throne to Mosiah. The descendant of Mulek, the king, transfers authority to the man like Moses with their exodus in the New Jerusalem. You becoming one people. fixing the doctrines using the Book of Mormon. That is supposed to be the laying down of contentions. I see it. Do you see it yet? I had no idea until I went over it with you live in recording. And Mosiah became the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the great high priest. As the man like Moses with the keys to be the head of the church, as seer, as prophet, as revelator, as translator. In Zion, the New Jerusalem. And so then a large rock and a hat was brought to him. The gift and power of God. You are missing out on a whole bunch of stuff in the Book of Mormon if you do not use the Spirit. This was awesome for me. Was it as awesome for you? Men, just a word of advice, don't say it. I have learned from many a movie. Don't say it. Just cuddle. Yeah, we'll watch Libra. You know, should I continue on with that? People can do that. Agency. As long as the woman and the hundreds of men are all consenting adults, obviously the men are. Yeah, sure, that's your life. But don't expect to say, okay, I've chosen this life, and then say, okay, I don't want to do it anymore. I want to now have another life where I would be a born-again virgin. You can't do that. You made your choice. And so don't expect the perfect life, because I've seen this with the older singles ward sisters. They defied the church. Getting an education, getting a career, going on a mission, and had their 10-year plan that after all of this, they're financially stable, they've got their own home, they're living the dream just without a husband. And at that point, when they're established, they expect to be able to then find the perfect guy just like them, who likewise has gone on a mission, who's faithful in the church, who's got an education, who's got a career, and he's waiting for the perfect woman because he couldn't, he was able to shut it off all this time to not pursue any other woman, as we were told by Benson not to do that, to get married immediately when you come back from your mission. Don't put it off. And yeah, the tragic results. the majority of the women who do that end up lonely for the rest of their lives. They made their choice not to pursue a marriage relationship, and then they expected, when they're established, to then change and pursue a relationship and have the perfect guy, and it ain't gonna happen. Because men are not women. We can't turn it off. We see a cute little honey bunny and yeah, we're all over her, begging and pleading and humiliating ourselves for her. It's pathetic. And so yes, the men in the older singles ward are losers who couldn't get a woman, failures who are divorced. It's a hard knock life for you. The reality is that this world is not ideal. Zion will be ideal. But Mormons who are not able to be comprehended correctly, dear God, we're waiting for the fall. We're waiting for the transfer of authority. Then I'm ready for the Exodus. But you do not want to be compelled. Alma 32. You don't want that. You're going to push it, aren't you? So I don't know if the one missionary means 1 month, as the dream where I had 3 missionaries, but there was also 3 suitcases. Technically, there was only one little girl who got woken up on her and in bed. She was in a queen bed too. Just one little girl on a queen bed. I can't make that leap to assume that 1 month from now. So the 12th, which would be May, because there's only 30 days in April, right? Right. So the 12th of May, that's nothing. 17th is the new Jewish month of Sivan, and then so the 8th of Sivan is the Pentecost. So I can't figure out any timing in the dream. So it may not have been a prophecy dream, therefore. Just that I'm so deeply concerned of the extension now. The failure of Trump again. And the church, dear God, what does it take to bring down this church? What does it take? Because you PIMOs are not helping the situation. You're making it worse. Because of your fear of being abused by your family and your friends, unable to stand up and say, this church ain't right. And if you don't believe it's right, dear God, mommy, or wifey, or bishop. I mean, seriously. The church demands to have your name removed. You make out a whole form and interview with your bishop who will threaten you to stay. Stand up to him and tell him it is not right to worship Satan. It is not right to steal money. It is not right to be prostituted. It is not right to be sex trafficked. It's not right. Polygamy, not right. Abusing and electroshock therapy, not right. Lying about church history, not right. Stand up to them. Know the Book of Mormon. For tithing, for priestcraft. Priestcraft, not right. 2 Nephi 26, I think 19. Throw it in his face. And tell him, you shouldn't be a Mormon either. You should be standing up with honor and integrity and leaving this church and getting the ward to come with you. And stand up to the stake president and say, what the bleeping hell is wrong with you? Know the scripture passages that show that this church ain't right. Really? A sustaining vote? Not right. Tell them to their face. Let them know that what they are doing, threatening you, is not right. Stand your ground. Stand for something. Be, not feel. Little Hinckley for you. Seriously, Pymos, get a backbone, get a spine. Don't cower in fear. Tell them. Don't go silent. Tell them. Yes, they will try to abuse you if they're evil. But if they're good people, as you think they are, hopefully, then they will go, you're right. And now you have a friend in Isaiah, not Jesus, because it's the same name. But I can't tell you what to do. I can only warn you that the Book of Mormon warns you. So, sign in the heavens. Venus is still in the Lamb Ram constellation. Daddy, where's the lamb? God will provide. Let God prevail. Maybe it means one day. Wouldn't that be great? Tomorrow, huh? Should I hold my breath?